Picture this. It's 1347, somewhere in medieval France. A king stands in his war tent, studying battle maps by candlelight. Tomorrow, he'll face the largest army ever assembled against his kingdom. His chances? Nearly zero. But tonight, he's discovered something in an ancient grimoire, a name that promises the impossible, complete invisibility. The next morning, his generals rush to his tent. They find his armor laid out perfectly, as if he simply evaporated. On his wooden throne, carved deep into the grain, is a strange sigil, 3 interlocking circles with symbols that seem to shift when you're not looking directly at them. The king has vanished without a trace, and with him, any hope of victory. But here's what will chill you to the bone. His own son, the prince, when asked about his father's disappearance, pauses for a long moment and says, "Father, I can barely remember what he looked like. What force could make a king not just disappear, but be forgotten by his own blood?" You're about to discover the terrifying truth about Baal, the demon who doesn't destroy you. He erases you. If this story has already captured your imagination, hit that subscribe button now. Trust me, you'll want to see where this journey takes us next. You need to understand something crucial. Baal wasn't always a demon. Thousands of years ago, across the ancient lands of Phoenicia and Canaan, Baal was a title of ultimate respect. It meant Lord, and these lords controlled the storms, brought the rains, and decided the fate of entire civilizations. Imagine standing in an ancient temple, watching priests call upon Baal to end a devastating drought. The sky darkens, thunder rolls, and life-giving rain begins to fall. To those people, Baal wasn't evil, he was salvation itself. But here's where the story takes its first dark turn. As new religions spread across the ancient world, the old gods became inconvenient. They had to be eliminated, not through war, but through something far more insidious: rebranding. The storm bringers became storm destroyers. The life givers became life takers. The protectors became predators. Think about this for a moment. What if everything you believed about power, about protection, about the forces that shape your world could be rewritten by those who came after you? Baal's transformation from revered deity to infernal king isn't just ancient history. It's a blueprint for how perception becomes reality and how yesterday's heroes become tomorrow's villains. But Baal adapted. If the world wanted to see him as a demon, he would become the most terrifying demon imaginable, one who could make you question the very nature of existence itself. When you encounter Baal, you don't see one face, you see 3, and each one tells a story that will haunt your dreams. The first face is human, but not the kind of human you'd want to meet. It's angular, cold, with eyes that seem to look through you rather than at you. This face represents your rational mind, the part of you that thinks it can control everything. But when you choose invisibility, when you decide to hide from the world, this face begins to lose its warmth. It becomes calculating, distant, stripped of the empathy that makes us human. The second face is that of a cat, sleek, predatory, patient. Cats are masters of moving unseen, of watching from the shadows. This face represents the seductive appeal of invisibility. You can go anywhere, hear any secret, escape any consequence. But cats, for all their grace, are solitary creatures. They survive alone, trust no one completely, and form bonds only when it serves their purpose. The third face is the most disturbing: a toad, heavy-lidded and still. Toads don't hunt actively, they wait. They sit motionless until prey comes within reach. then strike without warning. This phase represents the final stage of choosing invisibility, stagnation. When you've been unseen for too long, you stop moving through life and start simply existing, waiting, watching everything pass you by. Here's what terrifies me about Baal's appearance. It's not random. It's a progression. It shows you exactly what happens when you choose to disappear from the world. You lose your humanity piece by piece, until all that's left is something that watches, waits, and slowly forgets what it means to truly live. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever wished you could be invisible? Not just physically, but truly unseen, able to move through difficult situations without judgment, without consequences, without the weight of other people's expectations? Baal offers exactly that. His gift isn't some cheap magic trick or temporary illusion. When Baal grants invisibility, you don't just become hard to see, you become hard to remember. People's eyes slide past you. Their minds struggle to hold onto your image. You become a ghost among the living, free to go anywhere, do anything, without fear of discovery. Imagine the possibilities. You could walk into any room and hear the conversations people have when they think no one is listening. You could move through your workplace, your social circles, your family gatherings, and finally understand what people really think about you. You could escape every uncomfortable situation, every difficult conversation, every moment of vulnerability. But here's the twist that makes this gift so terrifying. Invisibility isn't a switch you can turn off. It's a slow poison that seeps into every aspect of your existence. At first, you'll love it. You'll feel powerful, free, untouchable. But gradually, you'll notice something disturbing. Your friends stop calling. Not because they're angry with you, but because they forget to. Your family stops including you in conversations, not out of malice, but because your presence becomes so faint that their minds simply skip over you. The ultimate horror isn't that you become invisible to your enemies. It's that you become invisible to everyone you love. And eventually, in the cruelest twist of all, you start to become invisible to yourself. If you're still listening, if you're still curious about how one might actually contact this ancient force, let me paint you a picture. But remember, knowledge and action are two very different things. The ritual begins at the hour of Saturn, when the planet of endings and hidden things holds sway over the Earth. You would need a circle of protection, not drawn casually, but inscribed with absolute precision. Every symbol, every line, every curve must be perfect, because this circle isn't just protection from Baal, it's protection from being forgotten by the universe itself. The air fills with frankincense and myrrh, the same incenses once offered to kings and gods. But these aren't gifts to please Baal, they're tools to thin the boundary between the seen and unseen worlds, making it possible for something as elusive as Baal to manifest. His sigil must be drawn exactly as the ancient texts prescribe. One wrong line, one misplaced curve, and instead of summoning the king of invisibility, you might invite something far worse, or worse still. You might succeed in calling Baal, but fail to protect yourself from his influence. When everything is prepared, when the hour strikes and the incense burns, you would speak his name with absolute authority, not as a beggar pleading for favors, but as someone who understands exactly what they're risking and is prepared to pay the price. But here's what the ancient texts don't tell you. The moment you speak Baal's name correctly, the moment you make that connection, you've already begun to fade. The ritual doesn't just summon him, it starts your transformation into something that exists in the spaces between memory and forgetting. Now, here's where this ancient story becomes absolutely terrifying in its relevance to your life right now, today, in our digital age. You think Baal's influence is locked away in dusty grimoires and medieval legends? Think again. Every day, millions of people are unconsciously invoking his energy, and they don't even realize it. Consider social media for a moment. You craft the perfect post, the perfect image, the perfect version of yourself, but it's not really you, is it? It's a carefully curated ghost of who you think people want to see. You're simultaneously desperate to be seen and terrified of being truly known. You're hiding your real self while desperately seeking attention for a false one. Dating apps, professional networking, even casual conversations. How often do you present a version of yourself that's designed to be acceptable rather than authentic? You're practicing Baal's art, becoming invisible while appearing to be present. The most chilling part? The more you hide your true self, the more you start to forget who you really are. You become so good at being what others want to see that you lose touch with your authentic identity. You achieve a kind of social invisibility, present, but not really there, seen, but not truly known. Baal's influence has evolved with technology. He no longer needs elaborate rituals and ancient sigils. He works through every filter you apply, every carefully edited caption, every moment you choose to be palatable rather than real. The question isn't whether Baal exists in some literal, supernatural sense. The question is whether you're already living under his influence, slowly disappearing into a version of yourself that's safe, acceptable, and ultimately forgettable. The most terrifying realization? In trying so hard to be seen, you might have already started to vanish.